So then we're on to Spurs, and I think whatever Spurs do in the next couple of years could be really decisive in terms of what sort of club we look at Spurs as. Will they still be considered a big Premier League club, or will we just be considering them sort of a mid-table side that finished sort of around 12th, 13th every year? Because how Spurs are tracking, that's what's currently going to happen. So I think the first obvious thing to say is sack Thomas Frank. I think he's nowhere near good enough, and I just think he's too defensive and pragmatic, and he doesn't suit a big club. Spurs rank lowest in the Premier League for through balls and progressive passes, which is absolutely outrageous. And I think that does actually show he's nowhere near good enough for this sort of side. And Spurs in the past have been a very attacking side, and I think that's sort of what the Spurs fans want to see. They want to be entertained. And in theory, this should improve when Maddison and Kulusevski come back, but I'm not sure how much it's going to improve. You can't rank 20th in progressive passes side like Spurs, and especially considering the fact he continues to play players like Bentancur over a player like Lucas Bergvall, who would really help with the pass progression. The player they brought in to actually try change that was Conor Gallagher, and I like Gallagher. I think he's a really hard-working midfielder, and he's a decent ball progressor, but he's not an elite ball progressor, which is what I think Spurs needs. They'll be hoping when Kulusevski and Maddison come back from injury, this will change. But I still think under a manager like Frank, he's not going to be able to get the best out of these two players. In terms of other positions that Spurs need to sign, I would say a left back is also a must. And that is because Pedro Porro is first of all playing terrible right now. And I think that's because of the amount of games he's playing. And his performance has recently been really average. So what you can do is you can move Spence to right back, which should in theory be a more comfortable position for him, and then sign a left back. I would rather do that if I was Spurs than just buying a back up right back, because I think Spence can improve as a player, as now you'd have a right-footed right back on the right-hand side instead of a right-footed left back on the left-hand side, which limits a player like Jed Spence and any right-footed left back in that case. And of course, with Spurs, we are looking at the higher-ups. I think they need to have a change in strategy because they sign a lot of players where like, oh, they could be good or they're a young talent. They need to buy more Premier League guaranteed players. And I think this would help the manager. Thomas Frank is not completely at blame for this, but he is still a problem and why Spurs are underperforming this season. I think with a different manager, they would do better. And if you enjoy this, it would be great to subscribe to this channel as well as liking the video.